Hey, welcome to the Jerry Rigger channel. In today's video, we're going to make some major repairs to my Harbor Freight greenhouse. We're also going to make the door work because it always bound and popped off and didn't work very well from day one. So we're going to fix that, and then we're going to go ahead and make a latch for the roof windows. Don't forget to like and subscribe. As of this recording, I've got 117 subscribers, so I figure at my subscription rate, I should be monetized in about 14 years or so. Well, I guess I'll just keep doing this as a hobby. But anyway, about a week after I built this or put it together, we had 25-mile-per-hour winds, and they just tore this thing apart. The windows flew everywhere. The framing got broken and bent. Pushed the thing right over basically. So we're going to take a good look at it. I'm going to see. Well, I think I have a pretty good idea of why it failed. I'm not a structural engineer. But we'll take a look at it. We'll reinforce all the broken pieces and put it back together, and try and make it so this doesn't happen again. All right, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for watching. Alright, so I'm out here looking at the greenhouse. I've kind of pushed it back up a little bit, so it is kind of standing up again. It was very much so leaned this way. I've literally just taken it and pushed it that way. I was taking a look at why this failed, and I don't know why this didn't occur to me when I was building it, but hindsight's always 20/20, right? So you've got this cross bracing, or wind bracing they call it, right here. You got one that runs down on this side, another one that runs down over here. Same thing with this side, right? You got one over here and one over here. All right, so there's 4 braces that keep it from going this way, right? But on this side, you've got one brace here that goes down to where the edge of the door is, right? And you can see that's where it got ripped out, right? See that? Just ripped it right off. And you got another one on this side, which is this bent piece here, right? Which is still somewhat intact. It's only bent because it's there to hold the wind force in the opposite direction, not the direction the wind was going. And on this back side, you've got the one cross beam, but you really don't have anything that's holding it left to right, right? So all that wind force was pushing on that one wind brace. I mean, you see where it failed. Yeah, so, I think the main reason it failed, besides, I was thinking maybe that they cut these bolts in a little too close to the top. But that channel's so small that that's probably about all I could do. But the fact that I only put 2 braces for the side to side, but they got 4 braces for the front to back, kind of explains a lot. The winds were only 25 miles an hour at that time. So when we put this back together, we're going to go ahead and fix it. We'll put it back together. We'll put in some more bracing. All right, so as you can see here, we got some metal that's damaged and
fatigued from torn from the wind. And of course, we're going to have to straighten all this metal back out. We're going to have to reinforce it where it's broke. You know, re-bolt everything, tight, make sure everything's tight again.
And then we'll go ahead and add some wind bracing to the back side of the building to try and prevent this from happening again. And hopefully it'll last.
All right, so as you can see, this is one of the back rails, upright rails. And as you can see, it's bent pretty good. Not only is it bent, it actually split. So I've got to try and get this straightened out as much as possible. And then I've got to reinforce it. So that's what I'm going to do now.
Alright, so what I'm doing here for a lot of this part of it is just going through, straightening out as much metal as I can. Some of the steel corner pieces, I actually took those off, hammered them flat again, and then put them back on. Some of the other pieces, I just used some vice grips to try and straighten them out as much as I could, or a hammer, whatever it took to try and get the metal back straight. I mean, I didn't try to make it perfect, but I did try to straighten it out as much as possible. Looking for all the pieces that were actually fatigued and broke, because those are going to have to be reinforced.
Quarter 20 stainless steel hex bolts. 1.25 exterior screws. So what I've done in order to fix this, because this was broken, I'm going to probably do the same, something very similar anyway, over in the corner where it's just ripped right through these. What it did is, like here, see where it just ripped right through the bolts. That's what it did over here too. So I made those little strips so that I can tie the bolt. Tie the bolt here to that. And I can just run a screw into the
Alright, so here's what I did on this section. As you can see, I actually used two strips, one to go and repair the metal, and the other one to bring it down and attach it to the wood. And here I just added a strap to make the repair.
S shape there. I'm drilling over the holes between the deck boards, not actually drilling into the deck. So again, and I probably might have mentioned this already, but again, this has no cross bracing in the back. And you have cross bracing on both sides, and you have cross bracing in the front, but you don't have any cross bracing in the back, which I did. You know, when I put it together, I thought, you know, I was missing some, and I couldn't find any. I said, well, maybe it doesn't need it. But I think obviously we figured out that it does need it. So I'm gonna put some cross bracing over here. hopefully that'll help. Again, I'm not a structural engineer, but it seems to me if you put cross bracing in the front, you put cross bracing on the sides, you should put some cross bracing on the rear. But what do I know? Unless they count this as cross bracing, but it doesn't seem to work very well. I'm not gonna attach the cross bracing to the little thin piece of aluminum up here. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it right into the wood at the bottom. Until I go to put the cross bracing back on, until I go to put the panels back on, I'm not sure where I'm gonna drill these. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put it in the bolt on the top up here, and then I'll go ahead and put a screw in at the bottom, just a wood screw that I can adjust later to pull this back and forth to get it straight so that the panels fit. We call this cross bracing, but in most of the time they call it wind bracing. Wow, that's all that is already. Just that one brace, and I haven't even put the other side on yet. But that is just way increased the strength of that. And that's, once I get the other one on, it'll be tight as can be.
Alright, so there's a little look at that brace that I put in the corner there.
Alright, so now that I know those 1/4 screws actually fit up in that channel, I'm going to put a couple more in there. But it's good to know that I can, later on when I my plan is to take pieces of angle and put it in that for bracing to fix this. And I've got a piece over here on the outside I need to fix. So my plan is to go ahead and put the 2 bolts in now, so that later all I gotta do is drill my holes and bolt it in. I got 3 bolts that I'll put on the bottom. Like I say, 2 for the upper brace, and then 1 for when I bolt this on here. I'll do the same thing with this other one. Now I'm still just in awe about how much this thing tightened up just by putting 1 brace in here. And like I say, I haven't even put the other brace in. Alright, so I don't know if you can see this, but right here, this one's almost snapped in half. I mean, there's the top, this snapped completely here on top. On the other side, it's snapped completely across. And it's hanging on just by a little edge here. And I think maybe a little bit around the bolt down here on the other side. I'm going to put this piece of angle in underneath it right here to try and at least reinforce it. It's not going to be waterproof. Maybe I'll stick a little silicone up here before I put the panel on to try and seal it up so the water at least will drain off the top instead of drain in there. But I'm going to run this channel, say down here. I'm going to cut off a piece probably about this long. One part is going to be drilling the holes. as you can see, this is literally just hanging on by a couple little pieces. But again, we're going to stick this in underneath it to reinforce it. We'll put these two bolts in, the top bolt, and then we'll probably put another bolt over here. So now I've got the angle attached to this. Again, it's not perfect because ideally I'd want to be over the top of this rail, but if I do that, then the panel's going to be sticking up, and I don't want to do that. So again, I'll probably need to put a little glob of silicone there that hopefully will be enough to seal it out. But again, with the water is going to run down this channel here on the side, and that's what you want to keep the water out with. So again, this whole thing's not really super watertight anyway, so but I'll go ahead and put two bolts up here. That'll tie it into this top rail and to the bracket here. So, and I think this bracket, or this piece of aluminum, I think is probably stronger than the cross piece, but if not, it's pretty close. I do need to make sure I don't want to go up too high on this angle, because I do need to stay underneath the lip on the back side over here. So I might try to drill it from the other side so I know I'm not going too low or too high. I mean, I forgot my glasses, so I'm closing my eyes and drilling. Dumb idea. My glasses are right here.
There's a close-up of that piece of angle that I've just put in.
So what I'm going to do now, see, I've got this angle. Cut off a section about this long, right, for both sides where it broke here. And I got these bolts. I'll cut this, just the top edge of this, and I'll either peel it back or break it off, so I can put this up against there. So I'll end up drilling 5 holes in this, right? One for this, and then 2 for each of the, at the top and the bottom for each of the other bolts. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so I'm looking at this, and the channel kind of widens right here from where it got bent. So I really want to put the bolts closer to here. So I am going to re-drill this. So I'll put this bolt a little closer to the top. These ones up here are fine, so I'll probably set it in there more like this, which should be fine. Now, one thing I do want to do is make sure that I drill the holes in a straight line, because this is in a straight line, right? If I don't get the holes drilled in a straight line, then I'm going to be trying to waller these out to make the holes fit. So I just need to try and make sure I get a straight line as much as possible. Put the other strap on the other side. Hang on.
Alright, so here's a close-up of the 2 brackets I put in to repair the uprights.
So another thing I did do right on the edge over here, I drilled a hole for the bungee cord, which holds the door closed. I'm not worried about someone breaking into it, so I mean, not that anybody couldn't just pop a panel off. So, but I did want something to hold the door closed. That seemed to work pretty well. All right, so another thing I'm going to do, you'll notice that this fits really tight in between the roller and the door on the top, or the metal on the top. And that makes it really hard to slide back and forth, because this is pushing on this and the other one's putting pressure on the top. And so when you try and move this thing back and forth, it's rubbing really bad. Not to mention the fact that the thing's so loose and flopping around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-drill these, probably move them out to the edge a little bit closer, and I'm going to re-drill them just a little bit higher, right? I don't know if I can look in there, so that it's not rubbing so hard on the top. See, it's grinding as it goes back and forth because it's pushing up on this so hard. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and take these screws out here, hopefully.
All right, so here you can see I just took those screws out. I drilled the screw just about 1/8 of an inch higher, not a lot higher, but just a little bit higher so that it wouldn't bind up. You know, I could move the roller up a little higher so that it wouldn't bind up against the top.
Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at the bottom of this door. Now this door is supposed to be, according to the instructions, this plastic's supposed to come down and curl up underneath here. Mine did not come that way. The plastic is just straight even on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a piece that comes down and curls up underneath here to hold that down, keep that from popping out of the track. All right, so what I've done here, I made some little brackets that I can put down here that are going to go under here. Now you don't want these brackets to be tight up against the metal, because then you're going to have the same problem we had on the top, where the aluminum is rubbing really hard against the other aluminum, and aluminum against aluminum, you know, is not going to move well, because it's going to bind up. But you do want to prevent it from lifting up too far, right? I'll do that on both sides. You also want to make sure you don't drill your holes too close to these screws, because those screws, the opposite side of those screws are your rollers. If you drill too close, you're going to drill right into one of your rollers. That's not going to be good. And of course, if you're concerned about the other side, this will leave some points on the other side, so you might want to cover that up on the inside if you're concerned that you might, you know, something might come through there and touch it. But the main thing is you don't want to make that to lift. So we'll test it. Just do like this. Yeah. Nice and smooth. Just like you want. You don't want it to come off on. Nice and smooth. Perfect. All right, so I've basically done 3 things to this door, right? As you can see here, I moved these bolts so I could make the door actually a little bit longer, because it wasn't even long enough. But then I moved the rollers up slightly so that this wouldn't be binding up into the top, because it was literally crushing into the top and rubbing on the top. I did that on both sides. Same with this bolt, I did the same thing on both sides. I added, this is my latch to keep the door closed, right? But I put this angle on the bottom. Again, I didn't want to put it up tight against the bottom. I wanted to leave it a little bit loose so you can still have a little up and down movement. But I don't want it to be able to come off. All right, I want it to stop before it lifts actually off. So now this thing you can just slide it. You shouldn't bind it. I mean, it's just was horrible when I first put it together. It bound all up. So.
All right, so another thing I did, I went ahead and added just this little metal tab. Just used the one bolt to hold it on, just to act as a latch.
See with that latch, once you latch it in there, you push up on it, that window cannot come open. So that works out pretty good just by latching it, just by making that little piece of metal there.
So one of the last things I did was I went ahead and put in just a thin plywood flooring. I think it's 1/2 or 3/8 inch, I can't remember now, but and that's just to keep the bugs from getting up through the deck boards. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of the Jerry Rigger channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.